Savabeel the leader, the 3-year-old, and the Cox Plate around the turn in front of Regal Roller. Down the outside, Fields of Omar, and then Starcraft. Savabeel with 100 to go, the leader. Fields of Omar's coming after him, and then Starcraft, but it's Savabeel in front, and it's a 3-year-old's Cox Plate. Savabeel beat Fields of Omar a length.
Savabeel, a champion racehorse who has become a very successful stallion at Waikato Stud, where another very successful racehorse is about to retire. Mark Chittick from Waikato Stud is here with all the details. Good evening.
G'day, Dio.
Let's talk about Sacred Falls. Wasn't quite able to get that elusive third Doncaster last week, but gee, he became the first horse in 50 years to win two in a row. He was some horse, wasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly was, and no horse has won it 3 times, so he certainly hadn't up against him with the drawn 20 and carrying 58. But you're right, to have won 2 of them. Yeah, we're hugely proud of that, and fantastic racehorse, and we're very excited about him stepping off the float on Wednesday morning.
Okay, so he comes to the farm Wednesday.
Yep, he's travelling overnight on Tuesday and arrives first thing Wednesday morning.
When did you first express an interest in having him as a stallion at Waikato Stud?
Well, you know, obviously he's a horse that we bred. We sold him at the yearling sales. He made nice money. He was bought by Bruce Sherwin and Tony Pike and Raffles Dato Yap, and he was an extremely nice type of horse as a yearling. But it was probably obviously when he showed his ability as a racehorse here in New Zealand, and in particular, I suppose we all take note of his Hawke's Bay Guineas win and how freakish that was. And then when he came back as a I think it was in his spring campaign as a 3-year-old, I happened to be at Taupo when he had a exhibition gallop there, and I just made note of his galloping action, and obviously off the back of that Hawke's Bay Guineas, and we just sort of thought he was the closest galloper that we'd seen to O'Reilly since O'Reilly, and we always wanted to stand a son of O'Reilly, and he's put his hand up as his best racing son, so that's why we made a move at that stage.
That was freakish, wasn't it, Mark? We saw him stumble out of the gates there in the Hawke's Bay Guineas. He then did plenty of work in the run, and to still have the audacity to prick his ears and run a time and do everything like that. And I'll never forget standing in the birdcage with you and Gary, and you were both in awe of him, and you said at that time, gee, reminds us of O'Reilly, and something said to me then that you were pretty keen on trying to get him to Waikato Stud. Yeah,
that's exactly right, Butch, and we look for the best gallopers that we possibly can to stand at stud, and certainly horses with a turn of foot, and he certainly showed that day, and throughout his racing career he had a massive turn of foot on all sorts of track conditions.
Fresh off the plane Wednesday morning, does he go straight into O'Reilly's box?
Yeah, he does. He does, Twiggy, which is, you know, at the end of that, it's a pretty cool story. We would have loved to have had O'Reilly around for another year or two, but that's not the case. He made a decision for us. We didn't have to make it for him, but the box is already there and ready to go. His paddock and his box. So it's pretty cool.
It's a silver lining to a sad story, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. It is. So I suppose the thing with that, Mark, is O'Reilly, with so many of your mares, has had a great cross. You'll know he gets a leg up start, doesn't he, this horse Sacred Falls, because I'm sure that you'll put him over some of the mares that O'Reilly worked with.
Yeah, certainly. There's a freakish cross showing in Savabeel over O'Reilly mares, you know, so it'll be nice to go back now with Sacred Falls being by O'Reilly over some Savabeel mares. But interestingly enough, he is out of a Readout's Choice mare. You know, we were obviously we had a close eye on Alamosa at the time as well, but he was out of a Centane mare, so it limited us to the amount of mares that we could put to him in our broodmare band. But with this guy being out of a Readout's Choice mare, it's opened up so many more opportunities for us.
So have you put together a syndicate, Mark? You guys have been big for so many times, right back to Pins, and then Ocean Park of having equity, buying the horse, and then putting syndicates together to do it. Is that what's happened on this occasion?
Yeah, it certainly is, and obviously we're very fortunate for Dato Yap to let us back into the horse, and especially early on in his racing career when he moved from New Zealand to Australia, and so therefore we were involved in those 2 Doncaster wins, which was obviously fantastic. And in syndicating these stallions, like as you talked more recently, Savabeel and Ocean Park, we've had massive support from New Zealand and Australia through a lot of the top farms or most of the top farms and top individual breeders. So the support's been huge. Savabeel, he was a $10 million horse. It took me about sort of 48 hours to get him syndicated. Ocean Park was about 12 hours, and this guy, he's pretty well all done now, just in the last couple of days. So no, we thank everybody's support, but obviously you've got to have the product and the belief in them, and we certainly do.
When you think of Sacred Falls, you think two Doncasters. It's not just the case. I mean, they were rain-affected tracks. He won a George Main on a good track. He won a Hawke's Bay Guineas on a good track. He won at Riccarton. His group won at Riccarton on a good track, and he ran slashing times. He's a very versatile galloper, wasn't he?
That's exactly right, Twiggy. And you know, we made the decision this time last year after his second Doncaster whether we raced on or not, and we made the decision to race on. And then after his spring campaign, it was do we go back again or not? But of course, in that 12 months, he's picked up the George Main on a good track in Australia, and been rated the best miler in Australia. And after his George Main win, he was the top-rated horse under handicap conditions in Australia.
Gee, he showed a turn of foot there, didn't he? I reckon that's
his
nearly
best
his best
win
win.
for mine. Yeah, me too.
I think so.
His action was outstanding. His ears were pricked. He gave them a spanking, didn't he?
I think he's got away with those wet tracks in those two
Just on
Doncasters
his
rather than
ability
like
alone.
them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So where does he sit sort of on the fee side of things? Obviously, you've thought about this long and hard. What
Yeah,
was
certainly.
fee
There's
first
obviously
season?
an equation that goes into these horses, and you know, there's no secrets. He is a $10 million purchase, and he has been syndicated. And the equation equates that he'll stand at 30,000 this year when he starts breeding. And I think it's very fair value when you obviously very fair value when you the support we've had with Ocean Park when you compare the two. Similar types of racehorses, and Ocean Park's been extremely well supported over the last 2 years, and the support that we've had in getting this guy syndicated, etc., has been great. So I think he fits in there nicely.
Have you had much interest in pre-bookings for him?
The concentration so far has been on getting the horse syndicated, but certainly, you know, breeders in New Zealand that don't have a huge amount of mares, it doesn't sometimes suit them to buy a share in a horse and be committed long term. But those guys have certainly said, we won't take a share, but we'll be sending a mare.
I bet your Dardo's looking forward to the next phase of this journey. He's really the horse that has seen that investment and that involvement of raffles continue and get bigger in New Zealand, and now to be able to breed to him, I'm sure he'll be so excited.
Yeah, we caught up on Saturday, and you know, I mean, one thing, Dardo, yep, he's a fantastic man. He's a great gentleman, and he's really good fun. And I really take my hat off to the job that Dardo and Raffles and Bruce have done. I mean, they're racing some fantastic horses, and I think it's just a huge positive to have people like that involved in our New Zealand industry.
Very enthusiastic, isn't he?
Yeah.
Very enthusiastic about the racing game, very passionate about it. And like you said, Raffles Farm do a great job from the bottom to the top, and they've got great systems
And
in
over
place.
all sorts of sort of different angles of the game.
Exactly.
You know? Racing, buying
breeding.
yearlings, selling yearlings.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
they really have done a great job.
And what about Savabeel? What a season he's had.
Yeah, he certainly has. Yeah, it's just quite freakish. I mean, to have the Group 1 winners that he has, that he's had, 11. I was going to say stakes winners, but all of those stakes winners of his this year, the 11 of them, have all been Group winners, which is quite incredible. And 7 of those 11 Group winners have won multiple Group races. You know, he's travelling at over 9.9% of stakes winners to runners. It really is just phenomenal, and I think that's going to get stronger and stronger. Obviously, over the last few years, he's been serving bigger and better books, so there's going to be plenty of beautiful.
And that stat's better than Firstnet Rocks.
Yeah, better than Firstnet Rocks, and there's 3. He's the 3rd leading sire of stakes winners in Australasia with Firstnet Rock and Readout's Choice, and the leading sire of Group 1 winners. So, just
I think all of those Group 1 winners have been fillies or mares too, haven't they?
Yeah. They probably have actually. Yeah, that's a good point. But earlier on, obviously, he's had the Derby winners and Brambles, etc. So he's a very, very versatile sire, and you know, he's getting up towards some 40-odd individual stakes winners at this stage. And the interesting thing, he's by Zabeel, as we know. He's Alvin Oaks winning mare, as we know. But I think it's 6 or 7 of those stakes winners have been his 2-year-old. So. Shows his versatility.
Yeah, for sure.
So much more in store of a filly like that as well. Savaria winning Our Oak. She just didn't cop the track on Saturday, did she?
No.
You could see she was hating it.
Yeah, she was never in the race, was she? She was a long way off them from the start. She got checked not long after the start and put her back to last. And and they took off sort of a long way from home, and she just couldn't pull her feet out of the ground. She was never in the race.
No, she's much better than that, though. She's a Caulfield Cup type of horse. Lucia Valentina, we saw her in the race last year. But Savabeel, he's sold well through the yearling sales as well. Your owners, your syndicate have supported him right through. Where do you place him in the next season as far as his fee goes?
Yeah, well, we've had a obviously we've had a problem over the last couple of years on the success that he's had. And last year we stood him at 60,000, and he said a very big book. It's at that stage now where we've got to back off the horse. We've got to look after the horse, and we've got to look after those investing in him. So this year we're going to put his fee up. He's going to stand at 100,000. And we've been running an application process, and we will be limited in his book this year. He'll be serving sort of 130, 140 mares, and so therefore we've got to be very firm on that. And we're up somewhere between 100 and 200 applications for those 30-odd spots. So
that won't be much fun for you.
No, but it's a good problem.
Yeah,
it's a good problem to have. But
better than the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. And he's certainly stamped himself, obviously, as one of the best sires in Australasia, living sires in Australasia at the moment, and he's a horse that is extremely important to the New Zealand breeding industry.
For sure. When you say back off him, you say he's 130 mares this season. What would he do normally? Like he'd be up to.
He's sort of been up between that 170 to 190.
So out of that, when you talked about the syndicate, about 100 of those services are tied up through the syndicate, so that leaves the 30 for the outside.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Butch, and around about figures, that's right.
You had your colours go around in the Queen of the Turf on Saturday, Sports Illustrated. Not quite the dream result, but she went okay. Yeah,
no, much the same as what we're talking about with Savaria. I was there present on Saturday, and I was actually when we got there, you expect a really good track, because I mean it is one of the best tracks in the world now. But I just noted in the middle of the track and on the tracks on the inside and that, there was a lot of waterline there. It was a very, very wet track. And Opie afterwards, I mean, he just gave her a beautiful trip. And when he's let her down about here, he's just said she just didn't cop the ground. Diadema was probably the same. I think it tripped up a lot of horses on Saturday, because it was a very wet track.
Yeah, tripped up a lot of horses. You can certainly give plenty a pass on that. Look, the win was really good there here, though. That mare, she was strong to the line. Catkins always goes a good race, doesn't she?
Another Group 1
Another Group 1 place.
She's a good mare, consistent. Yeah. But those two New Zealand mares, your own and Diadem, it's a big ask. Back up from a Group 1 weight for age at Tiara, and then fly to Sydney, and then back up in a week. So no, and on a heavy track too. So they didn't disgrace themselves.
No, not at all.
All right, appreciate you coming in today with the update. We'll obviously be following Sacred Falls with a lot of interest through his first season, and congratulations on Diadem's Group 1 the other day, and we'll obviously be following Waikato Stud's progress with a lot of interest over the next season or so.
Thank you very much, Henry.
All right, Mark Chittick with us here on Way In. We're back with a whole lot more after this.